Hello, it's Miss Paula here with the ChaChing Show, and I have a very special guest with me today. I follow this woman on IG. She is blazing hot. If you are here in the state of New Jersey, I know you know no other than Madison Realty. Hello.
Hey,
I am so grateful that you are here with us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, of course. I want to know from you what, I want you to tell the audience about who Madison Realty is.
Okay. Again, thank you for having me. My name is Madison Fraizer, also known as Miss Madison Realty of Madison Realty and Associates. Prior to being a real estate broker, I served 12 years in the field of education. And recently, about 7 years ago, I decided to go into real estate.
Now, what I saw on Instagram was this. I saw a woman who once worked for a realty.
I did.
And then I saw her level all the way up. And she has her own realty and her own team. So that's why this episode is dedicated to the cost to be the boss. Because there's a cost to be the boss. I equate the cost with being the sacrifice and the blessing with being the boss.
Amen.
So I want to know from you, what was your pathway into entrepreneurship as it stands for you today?
Sure. So originally I was a school teacher and administrator, and the grant actually ran out. So I was initially going to open up my own school, and I ran into this realtor, and unfortunately she wasn't servicing me the way I knew I was supposed to be serviced. So I wasn't sure if she thought I was too young or if she thought I couldn't manage what the lease was, but I definitely felt discriminated against. So I said, if this is how she treats me, then I can only imagine who else she is treating like this in my community. So I immediately, this was like summer of 2016. So immediately I went to another broker and I asked him, what do I have to do to be a realtor? I didn't even know what the role of being a realtor was, what it encompassed, what it looked like. So after that, I immediately rolled into school that fall, and here we are.
So see, I want us to take notice to something. Adversity, hitting a hurdle, hitting a wall. Real bosses don't let that stop them. They actually use that as a stepping stone to get to the other side. So we have to acknowledge that. See, when I talked about the cost, the sacrifice, that's the part. That's the part that a lot of people miss. Because you see, look, when I see her on Instagram, she's always sharp. And I'm talking about physical appearance, always sharp. Hair, always laid. Makeup, always beat. So you see that part, but then that's the glory. There's a story that goes behind that a lot of people don't see. So I'm glad of that part. And for myself, like when I hear you say that, same thing. There was like something inside of me just knew that there was more. And you want more, so you go after more. And that's the difference. Some people know, but they don't go. We went. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
If you can give that person that's out there, whether they want to go into real estate, whether they want to own a retail store, whatever it is, when they want to go their own path, what would you say are your top 3 tips that you would give for going into entrepreneurship?
Wow. I would definitely say, 1, do not quit your full-time job. Let's just be clear. Entrepreneurship, especially as a realtor, you are not compensated until closing, right? So who knows when your closing will be? Yes, we allocate it to be 30 to 60 business days, but things happen all the time. But who knows if that client is going to actually close, right? So at least if you have a full-time job, then you can manage real estate part-time, because your bills still come every 30 days. Yeah. So it's very important to have that leverage so you're not chasing the bag literally.
Yeah.
Right? So secondly, after you start off part-time, then you build your business, you build your brand, then go into your, full-time business as being an entrepreneur.
Right.
A lot of people think that entrepreneurship, it's easy, right? We get to make our own schedule. No, you don't make your own schedule. You are now on your client's time initially, right? So understand if you work 40 hours in your full-time job as a self-employed person, it's giving about 80, 100 a week without pay.
Yep. Oh, that part.
That part, without pay.
Y'all forget. So when I talk about the cost to be the boss, the sacrifice, pro bono. Another thing, a lot of people are not willing to do the pro bono part. Not realizing that's the waiting room. That's where you get better at.
Like that.
That's the waiting room. That's where you're going to get better at. That's where
that.
you're going to become the master of the craft at. What would you say is your last tip?
Definitely be consistent, right? Because people want to know they can trust you. And when you are consistent, that builds trust. So
I love that.
definitely
I love that.
stay.
Consistency does matter across the board with
It's
your brand.
true.
They gotta know consistency. We go to McDonald's, they never change that arch to blue. That arch is always yellow. It's consistent. We know that that's McDonald's. Now I want you to give me if you can look back over the years, right? You said 7 years it's been here. What would you say is the top sacrifice, like the biggest sacrifice that you can think of that you've had to make?
I would definitely say my personal life, right? So when you are building your business, you have to really isolate yourself. You have to really get on your grind and trust God, right? And trust yourself, right? Because you are putting your whole soul out there to the world, right? So if you don't believe in you, why should someone else believe in you?
I love that because that goes back to the investment. You have to spend that money on yourself. I'm gonna go back to how fly and sharp she always is, but that's an investment. This costs money. But she's selling a package. I just put up on my Facebook, I think it was yesterday. Dress how you want to be addressed. People got to see that. They got to see it and want to buy into it. So I definitely agree with that. Tell me what's next for Madison Fraizer, Madison Realty.
Definitely, being that I just opened my firm less than 90 days ago.
Yes.
Right now, I just really want to focus on training my team, rebranding myself, and most importantly, I really have the biggest job in the world to do, and that's closing the generational wealth gap between, Black and brown people, and I plan to do that by home ownership. Home ownership really has changed my life. Well, it's beginning to change my life. I'm a recent homeowner, and last year was not my best year in real estate, right? With those interest rates skyrocketing to 8.25%, knowing my demographic, knowing the affordability played the biggest part. If it was not for my investment property, I potentially could have been out of business, So I want to share that with other first-time home buyers, with people that look like me.
Now, I want you all to really take into account what you've heard today about the cost to be the boss. It sounds really fun to be an entrepreneur, and I'm going to say there are some fun times, but there are far more times where you're isolated, you are alone. It can feel very lonely in that dream because that's something between you and God. God gave it to you. He didn't give it to everybody else. So the ChaChing wrap up, the word that I want to leave you with, the cost to be the boss, the cost is definitely the sacrifice. But if you really want it, you have to go after it. You have to be willing to make that investment. And something else you said that I want to touch upon, you got to trust God. You got to have the faith that although I may not see it right now, I know it's coming. I can feel it inside of me. And having that relationship with God will allow you to get there. So if you are trying or aspiring to be the boss, please be ready to pay the cost. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to add one thing when you said sacrifice too. And I think a lot of people need to really hear this. When you start your business, the sacrifice too is the going out. You're not always, you can't always go to the hairdresser. We know these hats, they can become costly, because you're sacrifice investing in your business than investing in outside. And I think a lot of people compare their first year to someone else's 10 year. And, just like a baby, they crawl first, right? You have to crawl in your business too. I'm still crawling as a new broker. So I think that's the biggest sacrifice, like wanting to do other things, you know, like traveling, things like that. But I can travel, but not as much, right? Because I need marketing. I need this. Someone asked me the other day to go to a very nice restaurant, right? And I just went for brunch, so I already knew what brunch looked like, $200. So I knew dinner was looking like $300, and I said, you know what? I gotta pay for marketing next month. That is a sacrifice.
That's the
and
priority.
there will be a time when I can be like, you know what? We're gonna do marketing and we're gonna do the $300 plate. But for right now, as I'm rebranding and starting my business, I'm okay with making those sacrifices.
And that's about it, y'all. Cha-ching, baby.